approve the regular agenda. Does anyone have any questions or any additions or changes to the agenda that has been presented?
So moved.
So if there's none, I got a motion by Rick Seiler, and I will second that. So if there's no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions, any items on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I got a motion by Maggie Bass, second by Rick Seiler to approve the consent agenda. So if there's no other questions or any other concerns, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is an animal control decision appeal. And Josh, can you kind of enlighten us on that?
Yeah, I can give a little background information. So Jay and Carla Linderholm are requesting the removal of a dangerous dog classification for one of their former dogs. According to the Linderholms, and this information is in your packet, the dog in question is no longer living with them and is undergoing training to correct an alleged aggressive behavior, with then placement to a home who can better serve its needs. So I have, just for your information, I have kind of included our city ordinances in your packet and highlighted the ones that I thought were of note in this particular case. I won't go too deep into it. I believe I have not met the Linderholms, but there are people here who I have not seen before, so I'm assuming they're here for this. And they may be able to speak as well, being that this is their appeal. I should have note, I just wanted to make note that there is no kind of large database, as far as I'm aware, of dangerous dogs. Really any dog who carries the label in New Prague. We then report it to Scott or LeSueur County per our ordinance. And as far as I can tell, it kind of stops there. So for some reason a dog were to make its way over to even Rice County, there's really no reporting means or mechanisms that we have in place that would have that label continue with the dog. But they may be able to kind of expound on the situation a little bit more, as why they feel, even though they have given up this dog, as far as I can understand, they're seeking to have this particular label removed. I do also know I have spoke with the chief on this a number of times, and hopefully between the two of us we can answer any questions you may have that staff would need to answer.
The reason I wanted Scott here was so we could ask him, this doesn't have to be in an open hearing setting?
This is not a public hearing. This is an appeal very similar to last fall. There were a couple times when I denied a tobacco license, and in the same way, they are now appealing an administrative ruling of a dangerous dog tag. So this isn't a public hearing per se, but it's a hearing in front of the council.
Sure. I guess my only question is, in the event that we were to remove the label, is there any legal ramifications to the city?
Not that I can tell per se. I mean, you obviously, public perception certainly is there with many things that a city may or may not do. But I mean, unless Tim found something, I don't know if there's a legal liability on our part.
Well, I just want to know is if we were to appear, make that decision, that dog goes out and bites somebody, are we now liable?
Well, that's why I'm saying if there's
Period.
any legal ramifications.
And I don't know that answer. Our state statute and our ordinance points to our animal control to make those decisions, not the city or the police department, which is, I've invited Sandra with Minnesota Critters here. Maybe she would be better served to answer those questions as that decision maker.
Yeah, go ahead and let the process happen, I guess.
And I understand that the dog is currently in training, and where is that dog residing?
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Could you speak in the mic just so that?
Yeah, we can get you.
State your
Can we
name
just
and
ask
your.
a couple questions before we start the hearing process?
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
just take a
Could-
seat
could
right
you,
there and then we'll get you.
Could you tell me where do we actually sit today? What is the classification that's been assigned?
I believe the dog has been assigned a dangerous dog classification, correct, Tim?
That's my understanding, yes.
One document refers to as potentially dangerous designation, so that changed?
I think, yeah, from my understanding, that was a previous designation, and the second incident in the packet kind of signifies when it moved to a dangerous dog.
And then what did the animal control do with it after it's been classified? What did they,
She's here. Would you like her to
right,
speak?
I guess, but
I
I
would
just
have her
wanna know
speak
from
to that.
us, from the city, where do we understand we stand in the process?
The,
They just gave us an additional packet.
Yeah.
oh,
I just
I
wanna
don't-
know
I
what
don't
our
have any
starting point
additional-
is, that's all.
Yeah.
Dog was quarantined, is my understanding, after the second
Yeah,
incident.
but was it in a situation of being an order for destruction, or has that been made?
No,
No, yes, yeah, as far as I understand, the dog is alive right now and is quarantined or is going through training at this point. There's been no order for destruction.
So animal control has determined to have it quarantined,
Correct.
and that's where we stand today.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Not, okay, go ahead. State your name and address, please.
I'm Carla Lenderholm, 1202 Highview Drive, Northeast, New Prague, Minnesota. And when the incident happened, I owned the dog. His name is Lawrence. And I was out in my yard. I had him tied up. I ran in the house to the garbage bag.
yeah,
come out.
we have
Okay.
all of that here, so I think what we're trying to establish is where the dog is now, and then where will he be in the future, and what critter getters, why they classified him as a dangerous dog.
Okay, from what the reason that I disputed this is because I turned him back to the Minnesota Boxer Rescue. We decided that we couldn't take that, we just weren't the right home for him. And it was a very difficult decision. We had him for a year and 7 months, or a year and 5 months. So when it happened, that night he went to Critter Getters for his 10-day quarantine. That was on March 4th. But he had to stay there 12 days because we were on vacation. So we picked him up on Monday, the 16th, I believe. Brought him home for 2 days, and then I decided to take him out to Darren at Unleashed and get him, I needed to know for my own, what was going on with him and what he thought, if he was a dangerous dog. Because Dave from Critter Getters, I asked him flat out when I picked him up, is he a dangerous dog? And he said no. So I took him to Darren to get evaluated, and he's been there ever since. Because the Boxer Rescue can't take him if he's considered a dangerous dog because of liability. There's so much liability with it.
Okay, I understand now. I have rescue dogs, so
Okay,
just a
Okay, well,
second,
they
please.
can talk,
Ju-
the
just a
Boxer
second,
Rescue
please.
can talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
well, let's
so
ta-
I understand the situation that Lawrence might not be able to get readopted if he has this label or go into rescue. I have rescue dogs, I get it. And I think the determination here is, we have the report from the trainer saying that Lawrence seems to be doing well. He's young, he has some anxiety issues. I understand that dogs need to mature a bit, and they need to have training and structure, and this seems to be all in line with the memo from the trainer. And my heart goes out to Lawrence because I would sincerely like to see him find a new home, and not be caught in the adoption cycle. I have a dog who has been adopted 3 times. He's finally with me and has been with me for 8 years. So I understand
okay.
where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Carla, who owns the dog right now?
The Minnesota Boxer Rescue,
They have ownership of it?
I believe, right?
Yeah, can I get, who's representing Critter Getter?
So, Critter Getter or?
Yeah, can you come forward and kind of explain from your point of view, what's going on?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Sandra Steinmetz. I am the owner of Minnesota Critter Getter. We've been doing animal control for New Prague for over 22 years. The way the potentially dangerous and the dangerous dog work is twofold. All right, potentially dangerous dogs, if a dog attacks another person and or a dog, leaves blood marks, it is the first time always goes potential. All right, if it opens its mouth and bites, that is a potentially dangerous dog. He attacked without provocation. The dangerous dog is, per the state of Minnesota, is if a dog has a potentially dangerous on them and bites again, and it is proven bite, that we as animal control can designate that dog dangerous, which is what we did, okay? We also quarantine these animals, so we have a one-on-one relationship with these animals. When Lawrence came in the first time, yes, he was hyper. He was young. We knew this. Did not pose a threat to anybody in your city or anybody handling him at that time. The dog at that time was recommended to go to training. All right, that's what we do, you know, with any dog that is potentially dangerous, is please get him into training, have this looked at. All right, the second time, we understand that the leash broke. Lawrence got loose, went after a lady with a dog, but there was no blood on this one. This was all hearsay. Because of the potential dangerous and the dog going after her, which is an unprovoked attack, even though the blood was not there, we did determine that that was a quarantine issue, that we needed to take the dog, to have the dog assessed again. Dog was with us. Lawrence is a great dog. With the proper training and the proper obedience and the handler, handler, this dog has a tendency, he could go a long life, all right? The ramifications for the city. If we drop this down, we will drop it down to potentially. I will not take that off the dog. The dog has bitten, he has drawn blood. I cannot do that. Per the state of Minnesota, I can't. So, but we can take the dangerous part off. As long as the dog leaves the city, as long as the people where this dog is residing tells us, so we can notify the police department that they have a potentially dangerous dog in their premise, which we do, and that we work with that local animal control. And we do this a lot. We've had a lot of bites. The boxer rescue is a great rescue. If they say they're gonna take this dog and rehabilitate it and train it, I don't have an issue with this, personally. I wanna see Lawrence get the best for what life he has. That is where we stand.
That's very helpful, thank you.
That's very helpful, thank you.
So when a dog has a dangerous tag on it, does that mean the next incident he's put down?
We do not ever call for the destruction of a dog unless we're advised. We work closely with our police departments, and if a dog has bitten and the owner is not following what we guideline for them, we will talk to the police. Tim and I have had many conversations over animals in this city. I think there's twice when I've called for the destruction of a dog, and that's because the owners refuse to cooperate. At that time, yes, we will. But because a dog bites a second time, no, we do not.
Okay.
We go straight to training.
I just want to be clear, when you said that it was classified potential and then a second incident occurred and you said it did not bite, what,
I did not say it did not bite. I said it was not a blood bite.
oh, you said it did bite.
We were told the dog bit.
Okay,
There was no blood evidence.
and that's what raised it to a dangerous
Correct.
designation.
Because the dog broke leash and attacked, went after the lady, came off premises and went after the lady.
So by state statute, how would you legally take it off of that designation then if it actually did occur? How do you change history?
We aren't changing history. Okay, the dog has the two incidences always following it. What we're doing is dropping this dog to potential so it can get the proper training in the proper home with the proper people.
Okay, maybe I just don't understand, but if the definition includes 2 bites,
Definition does not include 2 bites. That is something that
Okay.
the city and us have come up with.
okay, I thought that ordinance required.
Yeah, so yeah, Bruce, did you go in there? It kind of lays out what a potential dangerous dog is
Right.
and what a dangerous dog is. It doesn't say specifically one,
Doesn't
2,
say
3
specifically
bites.
1, 2 bites, no.
But basically what happens is that's our animal control officer, Critter Getters, is allowed to make that determination. And then through a hearing such as this, the city council has the ability to basically uphold or
Revoke.
revoke, revoke, I don't know if I use that word, but yeah, like downgrade the classification maybe, kind of through this process. So, yeah, it's not necessarily, nobody's removing a tag, but it's kind of stating the tag was never really kind of placed there through the appeal process.
There's not a database of these instances, is there, that,
The state of Minnesota is trying to get a dangerous dog database together. Unfortunately, they have not done it. They have been trying to do it for about 10 years.
okay,
We have record of
Right.
every dog that bites. You know, we have a list. But the state of Minnesota does not. It falls upon your animal control to follow these dogs, which we do.
right,
Well, it seems like the definition pretty clearly says bitten one or more persons on 2 or more occasions. The fact that it's not a person that they bit, is that why we're saying it's not in the definition?
If you continue to read the definition, it will state that if a dog if it attacks aggressively, if it chases, if it bites. I do not know if there's 1 or 2 bites, I'm sorry.
I guess I'm not seeing that,
So-
but I'm looking at the
Well,
definition, but.
Yeah, I mean, so I see the definition you're looking at.
is this in our ordinance that we're looking at?
Correct, yeah. so
It's
I
the
include
it's the
ordinance
statutes,
pages.
actually.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Is that the state stats?
Yeah.
This would be our local ordinance.
That's your local ordinance, not the
Yeah.
state
Oh,
stats?
okay.
Yes. But then throughout this whole process, we just go down to then the procedure process that talks about the possibility for a hearing, to possibly remove that dangerous dog situation.
So then, just so I understand, if it's not changed, does that mean that the rescue can't take it?
Correct. Most rescues will not take in a dangerous dog. All right, a dangerous dog cannot go through an adoption process.
I see.
But I do know that that is being, it's not changing it. Most rescues won't do it. All right, I will say that. It can be done, it has been done.
okay. Any more questions for,
Thank you.
Not for you.
uh,
Who is the person that called me? Oh, that was Gina. That was Gina? Are you Gina? I am Gina. You're Gina? You heard everything she just said? Okay, and you agree with it all?
Rick, if we could have people come up to the
Yeah.
mic to speak, that would be, and I guess
That
that'd
would
be
be
up
good.
to.
See, I didn't get to call
be
her
up
back.
to-
This is the lady that I called you about, and I didn't get a call back from you. So I want her to show up so we can
Okay.
at least answer her question.
Yeah, Mayor, I guess if you would like to open this up, that would be up to you.
yeah. Just state your name and address,
My
please.
name is Gina Mock, and I live at 500 Ironwood Avenue Northeast.
Gotcha.
If the dog is put back in your custody, is it going to be readopted outside this community, and can we be guaranteed of that?
Well, that's what the Boxer Rescue would answer. I was just his original foster mom. And then I didn't adopt him because my Boston Terrier didn't want to play with him. I had 2 other dogs, so I ended up adopting him out. So I wouldn't be taking him back in. Where he would be going is to the intake coordinator in Apple Valley, and that they would be fostering him and getting him through training and then adopting him out to the right home for him.
And you did have the dog for a while then, or
I
what?
had him for 3 weeks in 2024.
And he didn't get along with your dog then, or?
My dog was the instigator. My dog, my little Boston Terrier, she's had 4 boxer brothers in her lifetime. She's never had to share her toys because none of them ever cared. And when Lawrence came into our home, he wanted to chase the same ball that I threw for her, even though I threw him each a ball. He went for hers and she'd snap at him. And I just made the decision that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I already have 2 dogs, and I did foster to adopt originally, and I chose to go ahead and adopt him out. But
Thank
he
you,
wa-
because
he-
that was my question, whether, he was attacking your dog or your dog was attacking him?
It was
Or
more
going
of
after
just,
each
she
other.
was snapping at him, and it just, I knew she wasn't gonna accept him into our family, like ongoing. So at that time, I had to make that decision. I only had 2 weeks to make the decision if I was gonna foster him, or if I was gonna adopt him, or I had to let him be adopted. The rescue at that time was only allowing foster homes 2 weeks to make the decision. And in that 2 weeks, he also got neutered. So it was a lot going on to try and make that decision. And I had to make the decision with my head, not my heart at that time. And I had to let him be adopted out because I just knew my little Boston Terrier. At that time, it just wasn't gonna work.
Well, thank you for answering that question, and sorry I didn't get back to you right away.
Thanks, Gina. Does someone, thank you, Gina. Does someone want to talk on behalf of the Minnesota Boxer? Absolutely. Sure.
So my name is Brenda Bellerud. I'm the Vice President of Minnesota Boxer Rescue. And what we would like, since we've seen absolutely no aggressive behavior by Lawrence in our experience, and also the evidence that we have regarding the incidents, the picture that the police provided, that is not a dog bite. That is not a dog bite. That is a scrape from something, which I wasn't there, but I also worked in the emergency critical care hospital for animals for 10 years. That is not what a dog bite looks like. And the incident with the dog, there was no attack to the dog. It was a typical dog talking to each other. There was no physical altercation. But what we want to do is we want to be able to take this dog back into Minnesota Boxer Rescue's ownership and be responsible for him. But the unfortunate part is, because you guys have this label on him, we cannot take him into some of the counties we want to take him into. Like Apple Valley. What's the county?
Dakota County.
Dakota County.
I think that, I don't know, that might be just an Apple Valley rule, but.
Right, so, but that's our limitation. He's a great dog. All those letters, there's several letters that say people have come in contact with this dog, and he's a pleasant dog. He needs to be trained. He needs to be handled by a person who knows what a boxer is like. They can be too hyper for some people, but Lawrence is not aggressive. This is just an unfortunate situation for a dog who lived by an unfortunate neighbor. Yes, he broke the leash with the dog, separate incident. But with the neighbor, I just think he's getting a very unfortunate label. And we're willing to take him back and be responsible for him and give him a good foster home after training. But even we have foster people that also train dogs, have a level of training that we have options. Lawrence shouldn't get this label to limit his situation. So that's what we're asking, is to remove it so we can take him back into our custody.
So if it's removed and it goes into your training, like, do you verify that he's certified or not, that he will not be a dangerous dog when you're done with his training?
Well, you can never guarantee that with
Right.
any dog.
Okay.
Right? Even the best professional ever could never guarantee that, because a situation is a situation. But what we can ensure is the dog gets the training he needs and is adopted into a family that is the best fit for him and the family.
Okay.
Now, if it's only a family that's just a partner, a couples, whatever, no dogs, no children, that might be the option. But maybe he is good with kids. There, Gina says he is good with kids.
His original home had 3 little kids. Loves kids. And the only reason they surrendered him was.
Okay. Just, yeah.
So it's a very unfortunate situation. And we don't want to see him put down. We don't want to see somebody else handle him where he's going to be put down. He doesn't deserve that. He's a great dog. We sent videos, but unfortunately, like, you guys don't take videos. Playing with other dogs. I mean, even the professional trainer you guys have here in town, Darren, they don't think he's a dangerous dog at all. He just needs training
So where is the dog now?
He's at Unleashed.
with Unleashed, with Darren and
With the
Unleashed.
trainer.
New
With the
Prague.
trainer.
In New Prague, with a
Right.
trainer in New Prague.
Right.
Okay. Unleashed? Okay.
Oh, yeah, Unleashed. And Jane brings up a good point. She's the intake coordinator. She's the one that actually accepted Lawrence into our organization because she knew he would be a good fit. But Darren and Haley with Unleashed training, they also agree that that is not a dog bite. And I do believe that says it in their statement.
Can I say something about that original
Hold on.
incident?
Hold on 1 second. I'll let you talk in a second. Anyone have any questions more?
Well, I just want to make a comment. When you described the second incident, it didn't sound anything like what the incident report to the police. It sounded like you're not agreeing at all with what occurred. And I understand the playfulness. I've had dogs, and I totally get that, and maybe that's what occurred, but it was a very real person for this event for this resident, and it's certainly, knowing the person, I believe what she said and what occurred and what action she took and the other person in the car took to get away from the situation. So, but what you described didn't seem to be the same thing. So I guess I was wondering, how do you know it didn't occur
I'm
the way?
basing it on the photo of the police report, right, of the first one.
Well, I'm talking about the second one that you said that it was just playful, and what you described was not what,
Then I
Incident
transposed
report.
them.
Okay.
Then I transposed them. Go ahead.
I just can't reach that, but,
Yeah, just.
Can I move it down?
Yep,
yeah, you can pick it up.
yep.
It'll pick you
It'll
up.
pick your
Oh,
voice
it'll
up.
pick me up. Oh, okay. My name is Jane Walshland. I'm the placement director and intake coordinator for Minnesota Boxer Rescue. I think what you're mentioning is that second report for the police incident is that the police were called because she had said that she was bit and that her dog was bit. And then when the police came, it says lower in that police report that she did actually not get bit and that the dog did not have any injuries to it.
And that's correct. She said that Brenda denied being bit by the dog and said she could not find any blood on her dog. So,
I agree, that's what it says.
Yeah.
But that's not what I understood you saying.
I apologize. That's-
Well, it only bit once.
Well, it bit twice, but the second time it was
Not
assumed to be the
verified.
dog, it bit the dog.
No, it
Correct?
did not
It
bite the
did.
dog.
it
There
did
was-
not.
The dog attacked
They
and
could
bit
not find
Brenda's
any
dog.
blood.
It's honestly essential, like two kids in a family getting.
I guess, how do you know
punching
if she
each
said
other.
it bit her dog, how do you know it didn't?
Later in that
She denied it.
statement, she denies saying that the dog got bit.
Yeah, it's right here in the
changed her
report,
story.
Bruce. It says Brenda denied being bit by the dog and said she could not find any blood on her dog.
Right, but she said it doesn't say, she said it bit the dog, and she doesn't say it didn't bite the dog.
She just denied it. It's in the report, Bruce. It's on page 32.
I'm reading it.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
reading the same thing you're reading, but just because she said it didn't get any blood doesn't mean it didn't bite the dog.
I think we're, at this point, I think it says that she was attacked and then later said she wasn't bit. Like, that's two different things going on.
Yeah, she wasn't bit. She never claimed, I didn't,
You can
I guess
have-
I'm reading it, it doesn't say she claimed to be bit.
In the beginning, it does.
Right.
And that's why the police were called. And then she later said she was not bit.
Maybe before she made the statement then, because the statement's pretty clear. It didn't say she got bit. Am I reading something? Am I missing something, police chief? That's the incident report that's filed, but I'm just want to make, my point wasn't whether
Sure.
that detail.
It's semantic.
I sympathize with the situation, but I just want to be clear that what I heard you saying was not what the statement was, and it was a very real event for this resident And I'm inclined to believe how her statements that she's made here. But
And I'll agree with it, that they probably got in a verbal scuffle. Absolutely, that's possible. Absolutely, 100%.
And that is very scary
yeah, I
for
totally,
anybody to
I've
have
been
their
around dogs
in a
all my
fight.
life, so I know what you're talking about, so, but.
Right. But
Tim, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna go back to, I think we're getting caught on this bite, no bite situation in the second incident, right? So according to Minnesota statute, once a dog is labeled a potentially dangerous dog, it doesn't necessarily have to bite somebody. It needs to, the exact wording is unprovoked chases or approaches a person, including a person on a bicycle, upon the streets, sidewalks, or any public private property other than the dog's owner's property in an apparent attitude of attack. So whether the bite happened or not, the behavior happened. So I don't think we need to get hung up on whether there was an actual bite or not. According to the statute, that did happen, which is why we got to the dangerous dog classification. So just so everyone's on the same page, I don't know that the actual bite, the classification hinges on an actual bite, if that makes sense.
I understand.
Well,
You can't speak, I'm sorry.
yeah, well, I'll call if you have, I'll ask for other comments, but we need it on the microphone so it can be picked up. So, okay, any more questions for these representatives of the Minnesota Boxer Reserve, Rescue, excuse me?
I have no more questions. I understand the situation. I too have been around dogs all of my life. I have a Jack Russell Terrier as a rescue that has had some emotional issues, and so I understand that they can get anxious. Certain situations can cause certain behavior. The sight of another dog can cause certain behavior. I have two dogs as neighbors, very large dogs that fortunately I have a fenced-in yard that they charge at my dog. And of course, my dog is going to try to defend itself. My heart goes out to Lawrence. And I want Lawrence to find a good home, the right home. And I would be in favor as long as the city doesn't have a legal ramification of removing the dangerous dog label so that he can go back in the system and find a place where he's gonna be a good fit. I am not in favor of destroying a dog unless they are extremely dangerous. From what I've read and from your testimonies, I'm hoping that with training, Lawrence will just be a normal, happy dog and chase his own ball. So that's where I stand, and maybe I'm emotional about this because I have been through so many rescue dogs of my own. They all deserve a chance. So that's my decision.
Okay. I guess staff is recommending that it stays on the list until after training. Is that something you guys can abide by?
Well, can I just make one other statement first?
Sure.
So like, I've been doing animal rescue dogs specifically for 22 years and boxer rescue for 21. I had my own rescue in Arizona for 10 years. And if a dog is dangerous, it should not be in public. It absolutely should not. And I will be the first to say that yes, they should be destroyed is, the word that's used. Because that's not safe, and if you have, you can't put children at risk, obviously that's our number one concern, even as Minnesota Boxer Rescue. It's always a thing that we ask, is a child gonna get hurt? I don't think that Lawrence is that dog, but I do firmly believe in training. I think that every dog should have training. I know that me personally, I think that that militant, no freedom style is really what works well for a dog, because if they don't have any decisions to make and they know what the boundaries are, they're not gonna screw up. And if we give them that opportunity, they're going to fail. But that's a human error, it's not a dog error. And he is not instinctually a bad dog. And I think there's a very tiny percentage of dogs out there who are actually born with really poor breeding, where unfortunately, and it's usually the whole litter, doesn't stand a chance. That's not Lawrence, and with his history of where he came from, he did come from a family. He was free roam in their front yard, never had any incidences, played with children, neighborhood kids as well, no incidences. This is not a dog who is inherently bad. He's just in the wrong home because he does need training. He has not received it in the time frame between incident 1 and incident 2. That's not his fault that he wasn't provided the training he needed, but that is something obviously we will do for him. I have the ability to take him into my home and get him through training. We have trainer already set up. I, however, live in Apple Valley, and they have a 0 tolerance for dangerous dogs in city limits. So, you know, he's safe and unleashed at the moment. Obviously, he cannot stay there indefinitely, because you know, that's not great for a boxer. And what Darren had said at Unleashed is that this isn't the dog that we send him. Because when we do have dogs who are dangerous, we do send them to Darren because we trust him. Is this dog a danger? And if it is, then we will euthanize it. And have we euthanized dogs in the last, 10, 11 years since I've been part of MINBAR? Yes, we have. And because they're dangerous, and we will put them through every amount of training we can, but if they cannot exist in a home, and they are going to be sensitive to, sound, touch, sight, every single thing, and we cannot rehab them, then yes, let's put them down and let them start over in their next body. But I don't really think that this is Lawrence. In my experience with this breed, they are energetic, they need a job, they need something to do, and if you don't provide that, they don't know how to contain it, they don't know how to handle themselves in a situation when they find themselves in something that they should or shouldn't be doing because of human error.
Thank you.
Ready to bring this into discussion with us?
I just want to be clear, you said Apple Valley would not take a dangerous designation, but would they take a potentially dangerous?
Potentially dangerous, yes, but
They
yeah, I
would.
spoke with them because I wanted to make sure, like, if he was gonna come into our home, that we were following the right rules as
Okay.
well. But they're a 0 tolerance city.
Okay.
Are we gonna bring it into discussion here?
Yeah, we can. First of all, anyone else want to make a comment before? Thank you. Go ahead, yep. I'll take a couple comments, and then we're gonna, council make us discussions, and then we'll vote on the,
Thank you again. If the city does decide to drop the dangerous label, all right, it would be wise for the boxer rescue, just please let the city and myself know where this dog is held, who adopts it, and what city, so it goes to, so we can keep New Prague safe in all of this.
Your recommendation is to,
I'm sorry,
your recommendation is to drop the dangerous part?
I would put the dog as potentially dangerous, correct? With the proper training, I think would be a good dog, proper training.
Does our contract with you and our relationship provide for a procedure that actually will do what you just said, follow the dog?
I will
and
work with Tim,
I
and we
mean,
will get
I
that
know you
taken
will,
care
but
of.
is there a procedure in place that makes sure that that happens?
There's anything in the contract specifically? No, because we're just going off of, this is not a normal circumstance. So this is, if we're gonna back off of, if you guys are gonna the council decides to make a decision to retract that, then we'll have to work together, and it's not something that we normally do, I guess.
but your recommendation is to lower it from a
Lower it from dangerous to
potential.
potential, correct.
Thank you.
And Sandra, while you're up there, there is, in the law, there is the ability for animal control after 6 months, starting 6 months after there's a dangerous dog designation for a review by animal control to have that removed.
Correct.
Is that correct? Can
Yes,
you
it is.
speak to that, just explain that to council?
One thing that the state has recommended is after 6 months on any dog, any dangerous dog, they can come to us and say, we would like to reevaluate this dog. And at that time, we could drop the dog. Does not happen that often. I've been involved in 2 of them, my life. And I've been doing animal control for over 20 years. So, but it does give us a chance to see the dog in training, see everything that's happened with the dog, and then make a recommendation at that time to the city and to the states.
How long is the training process?
I'm not sure where they would take the dog or how long that would be.
I'm a little confused. If there's a process already in place that could remove the dangerous designation.
It is, it hasn't been 6 months.
Right, but there's a potential of that, if the training takes 6 months, then you could do it in 6 months and
Correct.
do it. That's why I was wondering, is that,
Correct. What they're trying to do, and I understand what the Boxer Rescue is trying to do, they're trying to get the dog out of the training where it's at now, into their own, which is in Apple Valley. Apple Valley, as she said, has a zero tolerance for
oh,
dangerous
so
dogs.
it's not going to training?
It won't be going to training here. It would be
It's gonna
going to
go training
training
in
with the
Apple Valley.
Boxer Rescue.
In Apple Valley?
I don't know where their training is. It's, I believe it's St. Paul.
Yeah, like we're set up, like we're technically with you.
I'm sorry,
We'll have a trainer come to the house and he'll go to Hopkins as well.
in Hopkins.
Is that a 6-month process, or how long is it?
It depends normally on the dog, sir.
So right now, the dog is residing in Apple Valley. Apple Valley has a zero tolerance for a dangerous dog. So Lawrence wouldn't be able to stay at the foster home.
I beg to differ.
I-
The dog right now is in New Prague in a training facility.
I understand, okay.
So I am so sorry.
Oh, that's okay, I'm,
It's in New Prague right now.
okay. So,
Union Hill, it's unleashed.
Yeah, unleashed, yeah, outside the city limits, but
Okay.
yes.
Well, my only thinking was that if the training takes 6 months, we don't have to involve the city council. You
Correct.
could just make the designation and
Correct. We do not know how long the training's
we
gonna
don't
be.
have to, but if it doesn't take 6 months, I understand why you want that. But
Correct.
Okay.
But to move the dog from here to the training facility, it sounds like their foster care is in Apple Valley.
right.
That's why they're trying to get
right,
it down to potentially.
Right,
It sounds like Boxer Rescues Foster, who's going to take the dog in, lives in Apple Valley. Apple Valley has a zero tolerance for dangerous dogs, period. Strong lined.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, any other questions for anyone?
No, but I, the problem I had with it was the same with what he had at first too. Brenda, who's a resident of ours, she was intimidated by a dog coming after her, and that is my consideration. I too used to rescue dogs, but it was big dogs, and a lot easier to say, if Malamute is angry, put it down. This Brenda, she has a legitimate complaint that the dog did go after her. I mean, psychologically, that's not a good deal.
Speak up here a minute about when I walk my dogs
No.
and I get approached.
Sure, go ahead.
So I walk my dogs a lot through town, and I would say probably 5 times out of 10 walks, I have dogs run out to us. I have to pick my Boston Terrier up, and my boxer stands there and just shakes. And one time I even looked around, I'm like, come and get your dog. And this dog's just circling us and jumping on us. And the neighbor goes, they're out on their deck in the backyard. So do I call the police every time this happens? Because that's what it sounds like with this Brenda. It was just an unfortunate situation that she called the police. I can start calling the police every single time this happens to me too then.
Thank you.
thank you.
You know what, and just what I was saying, just, if you wanna make the motion, I'll second it.
Any other comments?
I'll just forget it.
So what's the feeling?
Hey, Josh, did the people that are involved in the incidents have a awareness of this hearing taking place?
Not that I am aware of. I know,
Okay.
I've been working with Tim.
Just wanted to know.
Okay,
I'm comfortable in doing it if we can try to nail down the liability and actually have a procedure in place. And are we done with the hearing?
yeah, I don't need any more comments.
No clarification about the 6-month training, because that is not an accurate statement.
I think we all understand it's not going to be 6 months,
Perfect.
right?
Yeah,
I'm getting old. I forgot what I just said.
That you're in favor of removing
if there was no liability
If
against
we
the
can nail
city.
down the liability issue and actually track the dog to make sure that, unfortunately, it's a long tracking process.
Yep, so I have a note to call Scott, and I can call him first thing in the morning. I mean, if you guys want to make the ruling conditioned on that, and I can make that call tomorrow, and assuming that's the case, because I don't believe we're liable, assuming that's the case, then it would hold and we could move forward. And I'll work with Tim to get that, tracking thing set up on our end, and also work with Critter, so.
If there is some
I'm uncomfortable with it, but that's my feeling of it.
Go ahead.
if there's some liability, could you check with Scott to see if maybe that a second party, whether it's the organization or somebody, purchases additional insurance to a level that he might feel would cover the city? Let's say $1 million or whatever.
Yeah, I can certainly ask him about that. I do know even within our code, if a dangerous dog label is kept on, but the destruction of the dog is not ordered by the city council, like it is right within our code that the city council can require a new owner to carry up to $300,000 of public liability insurance. And so I don't know if that's the case, but I will certainly bring that up with Scott as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, then I will make a motion to remove the dangerous dog designation based on the recommendation from our legal counsel of how to proceed, so that in the event something does happen, that the city is not held liable for another incident. I don't know how I don't know how better to word it, but
Second.
Just for clarification, are we saying that, or is it understood that the designation will be potentially dangerous,
the designation would be potentially dangerous,
not removing?
both labels.
So I'll also say this, if for some reason Scott comes back and says, yes, we wouldn't be liable, I would just put this on the next council agenda so we can discuss this again in 2 weeks.
You're all aware of that one? If the attorney says no, see you next time.
Okay, so I have a motion by Maggie Bass and Rick seconded. If there's any other questions, comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. So the designation is gonna be potential if approved by our attorney. All right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, government agency updates. I do not see anyone from any of the government agencies.
You guys don't have to hang out if you don't want to. You
Yeah.
certainly can.
Yep.
But
I know it's
you
not the
don't have
most
to hang out.
exciting thing, but, I assume someone signed up for the Minnesota Boxer, Rescue. You don't want to speak besides this? Okay. Just want to clarify that. Okay, public forum, I do not have, since these, people are not going to speak, I do not have anyone else on the list, but if anyone wants to speak, they can. All right. So then we go, there's no public hearings. So now, Chris, it's up to you. City engineer updates.
All right, thank you very much. I don't have anything in your packet here, so I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the various projects that SCH is involved with. The first being the 2024 street utility project. As you recall, we're still trying to get that one closed out with some sanitary service lining and pavement patching repairs needed. Our last contact was with the contractor maybe about 4 weeks ago, and they did indicate they were trying to line that up. So I do believe we're still pushing forward on that. If that does hit another stall point, we'll take it to our next level as required with the bonding agency. So hopefully that doesn't get to that point, but that's the indication we have. And now the weather's getting a little better. I'm hoping that's gonna be resolved.
Because we have retention still on that.
Correct, yeah, 2% I believe is what we're holding, so around $80,000, which is well above what any of these repairs would cost.
Okay.
2025 street project, this is last year's project, and I expect we'll be going to punch list here in the next week or two, or at least getting out there and doing our reviews. So that can be completed. The 2026 project, I do have that further down in the packet, so I'm not gonna get into that. Lead service line projects, we have the phase 1, which is the project completing 17 lead service replacements, and that construction is expected to start in just over a week. That's being performed by K. Witt. So that work will probably take about 6 weeks, somewhere in that range. It should be done around mid-May, I believe, is what they're expecting. And that'll be.
And
the
just
first
clarify,
portion.
that stuff that's done in the facility?
This is for replacement of lead services from the outside of the home to the inside of the home.
Okay, so
So,
like
From the curb stop
curb?
outside.
curb to the home?
Curb stop into the home, yep, yep, and they're doing a methodology called pipe bursting, so, they're gonna run a new pipe within the old lead service pipe, so they don't have to dig up the entire yard.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's relatively, small amount of intrusion, and the material, the equipment itself is probably not much larger than your TV in front of you here, so it's a pretty small equipment they drop down the pit, and they can bring that into the house, so.
Okay.
So anyways, the first one's out, the second, lead service line project, which is in the design phase, was submitted to the Department of Health on March 31st. Has to go through a certification process. And once it's certified, then we can bid that project out. So that's for the remaining, I think, 53 services. So that's for construction either later this fall or next spring, or both. So,
And then how do we get reimbursed from the state?
yep, the reimbursement is requested directly to PFA, so the Public Facilities Authority has the grant money on that. So as a contractor completes work, they get paid, then there's a reimbursement process, and that's all going through the utilities, New Prague Utilities.
Okay. So do we pay the contractor, then we get
Correct.
reimbursed?
Yep,
Okay.
all reimbursement. Same with CH fees, and everything right now is covered by the grant.
Okay.
So there aren't going to be any costs for the city for those programs. Then the last project I have on here is for Alton Avenue North, and just a reminder, we are continuing to work on that one. We do have a meeting with Scott County and also New Prague and ourselves to go through the process. Another kind of just update meeting, I guess, on Thursday. So
When do you think that feasibility study will be done?
we're hoping to be done this month, actually. So we'll see where we line up in that, but at least getting the information out for some initial developments that are being considered in that area. But I believe we're hoping to be around this time. So that's about what our deliverable time was. So moving past that, I guess my next item on the agenda is in regard to the 2026 street improvement project. This is for the mill and overlay of 10th Avenue Southeast from 15th Street Southeast, or Highway 29, Casada 29, all the way up to 1st Street Southeast, along with one block of 3rd Street Southeast. Improvements in this project are primarily surface level, redoing the pavement, mill and overlay of the pavement throughout the construction of a mini roundabout at 3rd Street Southeast, curb bump outs at 5th Street Southeast, 9th Street Southeast, and 12th Street Southeast, and installation of flashing pedestrian signs at each of those 3 intersections as well. The roadway will be reconfigured from a 3-lane configuration to a 2-lane configuration south of the 3rd Street roundabout. And with those changes all meant to be hopefully improve pedestrian safety crossings and have some amount of traffic calming as well to hopefully slow traffic down. So with that said, there was a grant request made to the local road improvement program, which was not successful, unfortunately. Only one project in District 7 received funding, pretty much the same throughout all the districts in MnDOT, so throughout the state. So not many states received funding on that compared to the number of requests. I believe about 4 times as many requests were out there versus the amount of funding that was available. So the bidding on this project was, the schedule for bidding this project was based on finding out about that grant request. So that's why we're bidding this project in April and not February or March like we would in most cases. So with that said, I do have a cost estimate of about $1 million construction is our latest estimate. Our estimate in the feasibility report was $970,000 plus contingency. So we do appear to be within that expected funding amount or expected cost amount. We do have a little more sidewalk maybe in there than we initially expected after doing a review. There's a lot more cracked sidewalk panels than we were expecting. As you may recall at a previous meeting, we did have a advance request on state aid to pay for a portion of the funding. So with the construction costs at about $1 million and total project costs probably about 25% more than that, there's an expectation that state aid funding would cover about $950,000 or $900,000 depending on where the costs line up and the participating portion amount lines up with the remaining funding maybe coming from the city through general funding. So I guess with that explanation of the project, we do have in front of you a resolution for authorizing us to bid the project with the anticipated schedule being to start advertising next week on Thursday and open bids on Friday, May 8th. This would all be in time to award the contract at the May 18th council meeting. So see if there are any questions for me.
Any questions?
No, I'll make the motion, to approve, resolution CC 26 04 06 01.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion by Rick Seiler, second by Maggie Bass. There's no other questions for Chris. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
All right, one more item in here for you then. So I do have in front of you tonight as well, two preliminary design proposals. These are for what are being referred to as the Northwest Lift Station and Northeast Lift Station areas, service areas. So these are areas that are on the basically outer limits of the city, the northwest and northeast areas. In 2024, a sanitary sewer study was completed, identifying multiple service areas within the city. These two service areas have been determined as higher priority for development and expansion around the city limits. So we have been requested to provide a preliminary design proposal. So the feasibility level report is kind of showing things from a pretty high point of view. The design proposal is expectation is about 30% preliminary design, to the point where the finer details are kind of brought out, cost estimates are developed, figuring out what all the environmental impacts might be, and get to the point where you can essentially move straight into production of bidding documents and eventually construction. So these are more of the detailed portion of the design, sizing of items and those types of things. So I do have two proposals in front of you here today. I know Matt had to leave here, but with some more specific questions. But we do have the two service areas, the Northeast Lift Station, which we have a proposal in front of you today for $49,700, which is an hourly not to exceed fee, with deliverables in about 3 months. Then we also have completion of the Northwest Lift Station, which should be an amount of $57,700, and that would be for deliverables in October. So our proposal is to complete these two studies in sequence, so that the higher priority one, being the Northeast area, is completed first, and then the Northwest one would follow. If we were to complete them concurrently, it'd probably take a little bit less time, but trying to knock out the higher priority one first. So I don't know if Josh, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I can just throw a few more things in here. Of note, so we are recommending paying for both of these studies out of the trunk line fund. We do collect trunk line fees as properties are platted and annexed into the city. And so there's currently about $1.5 million in that trunk line fund for future expansion of the services. So that's how we would recommend paying for these. We also did reach out just to kind of do our due diligence to Bolton and Mink, who currently helps run our sewer plants, and they also provided proposals, but those proposals were about 50% higher on both sections with similar work and similar timelines. So we do certainly recommend moving forward with SEH on this.
The Northeast over there, Cedar Lake just put a new lift station in, and, are you aware of that?
I'm not, no.
You're not, and this is nowhere near that, I'm assuming?
No, this service area is generally going to be, when we refer to the northeast portion, the Alton Avenue project we're working on. It's going to include that portion, and just a general northeast facility right around the city of New Prague.
Yeah, so yeah, this is gonna kind of go down 12th and then come up Alton is generally where this pipe is gonna.
That lift station that they put in, would the price be comparable to the lift station that you're putting in? So I could figure out Altman Avenue, is that gonna be part of the county?
Well, it wouldn't be.
Right now, it's part of the county, I think.
Yeah, if we're having a city utility on a county road, I mean, you do have county roads in town right now that have city utilities, so there wouldn't be any necessarily difference with that. Same with the MnDOT road, you've got city utilities. So if Alton Avenue develops and it's county ownership, it wouldn't make any difference for usage of.
So we're not gonna
And I would
get any
say-
shared cost.
Yeah, and I would say, Rick, too, without doing the numbers, I can't be certain. I'm gonna guess this lift station might be larger than what Cedar Lake puts in, just because it's likely gonna handle a lot higher load. The one that they would put in out there really takes their load and just gets it to the city. This one would be handling much of the newer northeast growth that happens over there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and that's correct. So, I mean, as far as the amount of flow in these, There are many smaller communities I work with that don't even come close to the amount of flow that would be going to each of these lift stations. So these are exceptionally large for the
High
community.
capacity type of,
Yeah, high capacity stuff, yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I guess I'll make a motion for the Northeast Lift Station preliminary design proposal.
Second?
I got a second by Rick Seiler. If there's no other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes 5. Any opposition?
Is there a resolution we need to?
No, these are just design
This
proposals.
would be accepting the
Thank you,
proposal, yes.
thank you.
And then I guess I'll make a motion for the Northwest Lift Station preliminary design proposal.
Second.
So I got a second by Rick Seiler. If there's no other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Chris.
Thanks.
Ordinance for introduction, huh?
Yeah, I do have a quick PowerPoint here for you. Maybe, there we go. All right, so from Planning Commission meeting at the end of March, we did have a request that was reviewed as proposed by Patio Properties, and then I'll kind of comment on why the City of New Prague and the Planning Commission recommended in joining on that application. But it's basically to rezone and re-guide, because you have to have the comprehensive plan match any rezoning you do, so we actually need to technically re-guide and then rezone the property, but this would move it from RL90 single-family residential to I1 light industrial. Go over the background here a little bit. So Pat Sullivan acquired 2 properties along First Avenue Northwest. One had a home on it. The other one was the former location of BevCom. They had a couple of, or I guess a utility building and an open storage building on that property, kind of within the first block of First Avenue. So the BevCom property is a legal non-conforming use. Mr. Sullivan indicated the home that he acquired, which is south of the BevCom building, was in a poor condition. He does plan to demo that and feels that either the 2 properties combined together will be more valuable for industrial redevelopment, or they could each be utilized for a smaller, maybe 10,000 square foot building if somebody wanted to build new. The reason the city looked at getting involved in the rezoning, we have the bus garage located adjacent, which for my 22 plus years with the city has been an issue of getting the zoning and land use approvals for any additions and changes to that building over time being in the residential district. It's never fit well. It does fit quite well within the industrial zoning. I spoke with Superintendent Andy Volmuth about 3 weeks ago on the request. He did not indicate any initial, trepidation about the zoning change happening for the bus garage property to light industrial. And then in talking to Bruce Reimers and Matt Rinda with Public Works and Public Utilities, the property north of the bus garage, we have some lift stations and other open storage for our obviously numerous outside type equipment and material storage out there. Again, that's been kind of a difficult property to manage within the residential zoning, so looking to move that along with Mr. Sullivan's properties over to the industrial zoning. It's not the first time we've jumped east of First Avenue. If you go north of the creek, which is just a little bit off the map here, that property chart did rezone, and we amended our comp plan about 10 years ago for that as well. I did want to note, obviously, on the north portion of the area in red, there are remaining residential homes that are in that area. They were notified of the rezoning. Nobody attended the public hearing from the area north of the rezoning area. However, we did have a lot of people refer to it as the Shouse. It was built in 2024, kind of on the northeast corner of First Avenue and 7th Street Northwest. That's owned by the Keeners. They did attend the public hearing and they requested that their property be taken out of the rezoning. They did not petition for it. That was just something that city staff recommended looking into. So we advertised the hearing to look at re-guiding and rezoning their property as well, as actually the school district has a strip of property right between the Keener's home or structure and then that property right immediately on the corner, which is all floodplain. So at the public hearing, they made their comments known that they did not want to be included. From a planning and zoning standpoint, we just need to have basically a budding property for residential to keep. We can't have a donut of one zoning and then have other zoning around it. So by taking the Keener's property out, which is in kind of the maroon red to brown color on the map, on that northeast quadrant of the intersection, the immediate northeast quadrant, we can pull it out and retain its residential zoning. If at some point in the future, and the Keeners kind of built that home as potentially moving to industrial use, it looks like an industrial use, it kind of looks like a house, it's kind of between the line of the two. It was actually built under the residential building code, but it wouldn't take much to convert it to a full industrial building. So for now, the planning commission recommended keeping their property and that sliver property that's all floodplain out of the rezoning request. So that was their formal recommendation from the planning commission. Is the bright red color is what would be the planning commission's recommendation to move to I-1 light industrial, and everything else would remain single family. Kind of went through all of this detailed here. There's kind of a natural, I guess, buffer from the industrial property on this corner to the residential as you go north. There's limited redevelopment possibilities, but again, Mr. Sullivan doesn't have a definitive plan for his two properties that he acquired. However, the one already has been and will continue to be industrial type use, being a former Bevcom warehouse. And then he doesn't know exactly what the former home site would be used for, but could be combined with the other property or have a small industrial building constructed on it. So, but again, limited very much by the floodplain, which is indicated by the hatched red, the blue, and the orange color. So it kind of keeps it separated. You do have the little island of the residential to the north on First Avenue, but they've been, directly across the street from the 2012 chart, new building on that north side of that property there. I think a lot of that property's changed hands since that was built initially. So anybody that lives up there, kind of knows they got an industrial neighbor, and again, they're buffered by the wetland area as you head further east. So again, public hearing, the Keeners were really the only public comment that was made. They wanted to be pulled out just to keep their options open for their property, but again, they could come back in the future and rezone, or a future owner could rezone that, and it can kind of go either way. So staff and the planning commission recommend moving forward with the introduction of the ordinance to rezone all the property indicated in the red, not including that property highlighted in yellow. And then as a companion to that, really the first action would be to consider the amendment to the comprehensive plan via the resolution to re-guide the property to I-1 light industrial, again excluding the Keener and the other school district property on the corner.
And Ken, didn't Chart at one time offer to buy them houses and stuff like that, and then
They
withdraw?
looked at, Chart actually looked at buying all of the property on both sides of First Avenue back when they were doing their initial development plans for that newer building in 2012 that ended up getting built, but they determined there wasn't enough room for development on that east side of First Avenue to make it worthwhile.
And the residents that were there that were angry with them are no longer there anyway.
I think there's one resident there.
Yeah, and the guys that are there, though, they don't seem like they're willing to fight anything like that. They agreed with everything.
Yeah, and they did not attend the public hearing, so I don't have any more current comment from them, but yes, we have not any further comment whether they're in favor or against this rezoning. They've not made any comment.
Does this rezoning create a different tax base based for property taxes if it's?
Yeah, so it definitely would. So that is a question actually the Keeners asked with their property. From a standpoint of the usability of their property, it would have, if it was rezoned, remain usable as a single-family home with a home business in it, which is what it is currently. The county indicated that the use and the value base for that would not change. What would change is that they would then use comparable sales of industrial property against the Keeners property for changes in the value. So they'd be compared to industrial sales, not residential. So that could be good or bad, but their concern was that, you know, we don't have a ton of industrial sales, so that could jump quickly the values up if that's where it was trending. And they just, and I don't disagree with them, they're using it as a single-family home. They weren't ready to make that jump yet. And being as though it is still contiguous, except for the roadway between the area with the residential to the south and the school property, it's kind of one of the areas that it could go either way, and they're comfortable with the zoning around it as industrial for their type of use.
But I think to what I may have heard your question as, the zoning itself does not change
It
your
doesn't,
tax classification. So taxes are based on a use, and so for some reason you were allowed to operate an industrial use on your property, even though it's residentially zoned, the county would tax you as industrial. It really is just has to do with what the city will allow as a future going forward, and as Ken stated, who your comparables are.
Okay. Any other questions? So what are the steps here?
So would look for the resolution to amend the comprehensive plan. First of all, that does require a 4/5 vote of the council to move the re-guiding resolution forward, just by statute, because it's moving from residential to industrial. That's a special vote, a supermajority. So we need 4 out of the 5 to agree to that. If that passes, then to introduce the rezoning ordinance, which would then need a second reading in 2 weeks at our next council meeting.
So do you want to switch A and B?
Yeah, they should really be flipped. You gotta do the resolution first.
Yeah.
Do we, what was I, do we require a public hearing to do this?
No, the public hearing actually happened
Happened at the planning commission, okay?
Yep. Or they already,
No, because B will get approved.
Maggie, I know you like to read
Oh,
those
sure.
resolutions, so.
you don't need to flip flop, because we're only introducing the ordinance, and if,
It's only the first reading.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I'll make a motion, if this is correct, for the first reading of ordinance number 360, rezoning certain properties to the I-1 Light Industrial and Business Park zoning district as proposed.
No, that isn't an ordinance, the first one.
Well, yeah, we'll do the ordinance first still. It's just,
Oh, okay,
if the resolution doesn't pass, it wouldn't move forward anyway. So
gotcha. And that's where 4/5 of the,
the resolution needs 4/5.
Right,
Okay.
we're just,
Yeah, the
we're just
resolution will need
introducing the,
4/5.
we're just introducing the ordinance for the first reading, right? Yes.
That dog thing kind of threw us off.
oh, I'm still thinking dogs.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a dog.
Okay, well, so the motion is on the table.
I got a motion, I will second that motion. So, this is the one that's requiring 4/5?
No, the
No.
resolution requires it. We're just introducing the ordinance, the first reading of the ordinance.
Can you second that, so
Yep.
call the vote?
Okay, so I got a motion by Maggie Bass, second by Chuck Nicolai for the first reading of the ordinance. There's no other questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Next, the resolution, I will make a motion to approve resolution number CC 26-04-06-02, amending the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Got a second by Rick Seiler. Since this requires 4/5, I'm gonna call your name and vote that way, so we are clear on that. So we'll start with Councilmember Seiler,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Aye.
Mayor Nicolai says aye, Councilmember Ryan,
Aye.
Councilmember Bass.
Aye.
Okay, passes 5-0. All right. On the next, we have no ordinances for adoption, no resolutions, general business. First thing we have is the massage therapy license
Yeah,
discussion.
I can give you a background on that. So, back at the January 6th council meeting, the council requested that staff conduct research into massage therapy licensing locally, since New Prague does not currently provide any licensing, nor does the state of Minnesota provide any licensing. So we looked into that. Planner Garapi did some legwork on that. He worked with Detective Katie Spicer as well to kind of determine, you know, her thoughts on that, having been involved with the For You massage issue. She also indicated that working in Faribault and Northfield, that she's seen this happen over and over again and believes that not having licensing basically makes it easier for that type of activity to happen. Doesn't rule it out completely, just makes it easier to monitor if we have a local license for that. Because typically with your massage therapy, you're requiring proof of education having happened, and there's a few different ways you can look at that, whether it be from the American Massage Therapy Association, or other educational programs. There's other ways cities have determined that. Did want to note there was a bill, and I guess I didn't check today on the status of that, if anything had changed in the past week, but ultimately there was a bill introduced that would make statewide licensing become effective on July 1, 2028. I don't believe that's moved forward. I don't know if you.
I haven't seen anything additional.
Yeah, so I don't think that's moved forward, and even if it did, you're over 2 years out on that. Long story short, we're the only city, along with Elko New Market and Credit River in Scott County, that does not require massage therapy licenses at this point. And if you go south of Main Street into LeSueur County, nobody requires them. So kind of got that differing issue there between the counties. But I think from staff perspective, it wouldn't be difficult to require the licensing. Pretty much every massage therapist that is graduating that operates anywhere in New Prague or in the area is calling and asking for our license process, and actually are typically surprised to find out that we don't have a local requirement. It's becoming a very common thing. I think the state might move in that direction, but it's gonna be a few years. So I think from a standpoint of just a local regulation, I don't know if Tim would agree with me, I think it would be something that we could put together an ordinance to require that at a local New Prague level here and bring that back for an introduction. And
Does that require hearings and all that stuff?
again, not required for a hearing, but you could take public comment, because it isn't involving zoning. We don't have to have a hearing, but that would be up to the council to determine if you would like a hearing.
And you just want a verbal agreement that we should check it out? Or we'll go ahead and write a resolution?
I'm just looking for direction to staff, if we should bring an actual ordinance.
There doesn't need to be a formal vote, but certainly if there's direction from council that, there seems to be agreement to bring one back, we could do that, and then.
I would be good with that. You guys wanna discuss it, but, I would be good with, bringing up a resolution on that one.
Yeah, I think, I would agree also that we should move forward on it. I think it's something that, it should be done.
Agree. And I am a massage therapist, not operating my own business at the moment, but when I lived in Apple Valley and did massage therapy in Lakeville, a license was required. And, very basic things, proof of insurance, a background check, and all of that, I think is just essential to ensure that you have some reputable people operating.
Okay, Sean?
I agree as well. I like the idea where the city of Farmington here requires a public hearing for every application. I think it's always good to get direct feedback from the constituents. So I'm fine. I think we should do it, but I like the idea of the public hearing.
Hold a public hearing
With every license application.
with every license application
Yeah.
annually?
For what reason?
In order for the public to give us input on every application that comes in.
Would you,
Yeah,
would you be
I'll have
interested
to
in
back
that
up a little bit on that one.
annually when they're renewed, or just at the initial one?
I think just the initial one is what
I was talking about just.
Like similar to liquor, maybe, how we do it at the front end.
yeah. Yeah, just the one time when they're coming into town or gonna open up a business.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I would go for as far as saying,
It's not a deal
let's have
buster
a
for me.
hearing, let's have a hearing on the, actual, do we want to have the licensing? I wasn't saying yes to making every single applicant come in for a hearing.
Oh, you, just the
Just the
whole.
one big one here at the beginning,
And like,
and that's it.
and I just want to clarify some of my comments. It's not a deal breaker. I like the idea one way or the other. I just like the idea that the way the city of Farmington requires a public hearing for every application to the city council.
Yeah.
But-
I
If we
wouldn't go
did
that
it, I would understand a good compromise would be maybe we have a public hearing just before we change this, just to get some feedback, because there could be people that.
That's what I was agreeing to.
Well, I think having a public hearing that you're suggesting, Sean, it would be like having a public hearing to open a pet salon or having a public hearing to open any business. I don't think that's fair to the applicant. There's nothing, as a massage therapist, it's not alcohol, it's not cannabis, it's not THC. There's nothing dangerous about massage therapy. It would be like saying a chiropractor wants to come in and open a practice, and we were gonna have a public hearing on a chiropractor. So I'm trying to understand the reason why a massage therapist is any different than any other business owner that's not dispensing drugs or alcohol.
Right, well,
There are
fact
thoroughly.
is that, well, my personal feeling is that, while many massage therapists are just fine, there is a element that has been involved in a particular activity that operates outside of that. And I think that's where the public has a legitimate concern, much like alcohol or cannabis.
How would the
that they would
public
do.
know that that person might be engaging in something illegal? We could say that about any business owner.
Right,
Massage therapist is a trained and certified individual to provide healthy outcomes. So the training is extensive and it's legitimate. And there's no reason to fear having a massage therapist in the city limits.
I understand where you're coming from. I just like that there's a certain segment of the population that would, I have a feeling would be against this, especially the fact that we did have a problem right off the bat. And anytime we can offer, it's probably gonna be more like every other city council public hearing, nobody shows up. So the
But
majority of the
I'm-
time,
yeah,
but if
but I'm
somebody
not
wants to.
counting on that.
But if somebody wants to come up and say, hey, you know what, I'm against it because I live across the street from it or whatever, I
No,
don't
no,
know.
I guess I'm misinterpreting what you said. You said every new person had to come in.
That's,
And when they apply for this license, has to come before the city council and get approved.
that was my first statement, yes, just like the last paragraph, and it's up on your screen right there.
Right.
That the city of Farmington requires. I
Right.
told Rick, let me re-clarify it, it's not a deal breaker. He didn't like that idea, but he liked maybe having a public hearing on the ordinance.
Yeah, I agree with having a
Just
public
one
hearing.
time, and I would be fine with
Maybe
that.
before the first reading of the ordinance.
Right, and this is taking way too long, because even if Rick and Maggie don't like this, and it's not a deal breaker for me, I still like the idea of just having an ordinance. If we leave that out, that's fine, we don't need we don't have to have a public hearing, for the, application or not, like I said, I
Okay.
don't wanna
So I
drag
guess,
this out, this is,
so basically, we're directing staff to work on an ordinance, putting this licensing in effect for massage.
That is how I
Yes.
either one or everyone or none at all, I don't really care. I'm gonna vote for it either way. You wanted our opinion, and
Yeah,
I
no,
said,
no.
I'm voting for it, but I like this idea.
So we're gonna direct them to come up with an ordinance, and then we can decide if we wanna have a public hearing
Sure.
before the first reading of the ordinance.
Perfect.
that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is that fine with you, Bruce?
Yes.
I know you're still thinking of the dog, but get your head out of the dog, okay?
You feel like having a boxer?
Okay, so you know what the direction we're going.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Next is the RFP programming of POPs.
Yeah, I'll give you an overview of this item as well. So for the past, well, I think it's been 3 months, the park board has kind of been talking about, you know, the best way to approach programming at the new POPs facility. Again, it will open sometime in the fall of '26. Basically be too late for any actual programming to happen there. So really looking at the 2027 season. Park board feels it's important to have, you know, things booked at the facility. We obviously have, per our agreement and the donation agreement with POPs and the Ford New Prague Foundation, that they have their summer concert series for a 10-year time period, which is obviously a limited number of days out of the days that are available in good weather for the summer. So the park board asked staff to look into, you know, what other cities have done for programming, and it's a big variety of different ways that it's done. Some cities simply just make it available like a baseball field, and you could reserve it for whatever you want. The park board feels that we should really make a push to get some programmed activities going on in the facility, which would include potentially the school as having dates in there. They have not determined what dates they would like right off the bat, but that's something we would determine with them. But really to have a nonprofit potentially help program that. We don't really have anything budgeted to have anybody provide that programming. We did talk from a staff level with the Chamber of Commerce, who did not indicate great interest in you know, doing a bunch of work there. They might have a couple of bigger events that they might be interested in holding there, once they can kind of visualize what the facility looks like. And you know, we don't have it fenced in, so it makes it not as easy to use for, you know, potential alcohol sales and keeping everybody in without putting up a temporary fence. But Ford New Prague Foundation was the other entity we talked to that did express some interest in basically providing programming beyond the summer concert series, with anything from plays and children's programming, educational things. So that was kind of what moved forward the idea of staff drafting this RFP that would look for a nonprofit to operate it, or not operate it, but provide the programming. The city would basically just provide the facility at no charge. We would take care of our typical maintenance like we would for any other city facility. But again, the idea behind it is that we would not have money to move forward to help a nonprofit actually, you know, make money off of this, but provide it at no charge. And then ultimately, if they're able to, you know, charge advertising or sponsorships to, you know, pay for their efforts, that would kind of be the way they could do that. Maybe putting banners up on the POPs facility or that type of thing, if they are able to do that. So again, just a way to try to get somebody, not the city, because we really don't have the staff to do it, to take a little ownership and try to get programmed events there. At least for 2027, the RFP says we would look at an option for 2028 if everything went well for the 2027 year. So that's what's in the packet. This is really based off of just past RFPs we've used for other services in New Prague, but it's kind of a unique RFP that we would be doing, again, looking for a nonprofit, and that they wouldn't really get any monetary payment to do that work, other than maybe for their own fulfillment and vision of the site. So that is what the park board has moved forward for consideration tonight. And if it were to be moved forward, generally speaking, if we were following the approval tonight, we would issue the RFP this week and look to have proposals back in front of the council sometime around June 1st to find an entity and enter into a contract for the 2027 year. So I don't even know if we'll get anybody interested. Ford New Prague Foundation, even themselves, obviously has not seen this at this point, but have indicated that they would gladly look at it. And we did note in the RFP that we may be off base with what we're looking for, and we would look at other, proposals from nonprofits, should there be one, and we could maybe, reissue an RFP to tweak that with what might be workable, but we just don't know at this point. So kind
So
of
it-
taking a stab in the dark a little bit.
So you're saying you're looking for someone to do this without getting any money,
Correct.
but you mentioned somehow that they could sell advertising?
Yeah, if they
to
have like
get some-
sponsors and, put up a banner, maybe, it's Colborn's presents, whatever, and that helps pay for their time to find the bands or find the programming. The park board
So a
felt that that was
sponsorship
a
type
good
thing.
exchange for that. Not necessarily, to look like Vegas or anything over there, but, to help them offset their costs, let them recoup a little bit of that through sponsorships or donations or whatever.
Right.
Like we do at the community center when we got advertising on the side of the rails.
Yeah, I mean, that
Right.
would be similar. Yeah.
But the deal is, if it's just a banner for that event, or if you say, well, you can put it on, because a lot of times people want it for, I'll put advertising on there, but it's a 5-year commitment.
Oh, we would not looking at that, just for
Okay.
like the week of the concert or something.
Okay, that's what I was
We're-
kinda concerned.
We're not gonna rename this the Ken Ondich Pops Facility because he buys naming rights.
No, I was just wondering if you allowed them to do something like that,
That would be another
then the
discussion.
next year, they already took the 5-year money, and then the next year, someone's going in and, well, why would I do it? All the spaces are taken, like at the baseball
Yeah,
field, the
not
knee
look-
walls are
Yeah,
taken.
not looking at that type of, this
Okay.
just be temporary, for the event.
Gotcha.
Like a week out maybe. So,
Okay,
What would happen if the group that, let's say a drama club or something, has a sponsor like Coburn's
Yep.
to do all the sets and stuff, and then all they want is a sign to go up, but the art people that are running the planning want their cut. I mean, will that take anything away from some of those arts groups that might go out and get their own sponsors? I'm just playing devil's
I don't
advocate, but I
know.
could,
I mean,
we'd have to maybe have some language in there that,
yeah, this is a unique thing we're trying to come up with here. I don't know. Yeah, Sean, it's a valid point.
yeah, it probably won't happen, but I just, if we're looking at it.
right. Well, what is the,
Yeah, let's see what the proposals are.
yeah, I guess I'll make a motion to, approve this RFP.
I'll second.
Got a second by Sean Ryan. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay.
Abstain.
Okay, passes 4-0 with one abstention because you were on the board.
Cause he's very obstinate.
All right, next on the agenda, the ambulance service contract, which we, gotta nail down since it ends end of this month.
Yes, so coming out of the last meeting, you guys did ask me to kind of reach out and see what both Faribault and Wasika were doing. I did reach out to them. Neither of them really help us in this situation because in Faribault, North Memorial leases a private space, and in Wasika, they built their own facility. That being said, I should mention that Bruce did reach out to me to see if I could get a hold of North to see what their, see if they would just give up that information for what they lease privately, and I was not able to get a hold of them this afternoon. Looking at other cities across Scott and LeSueur County, just to kind of see what other places were doing. Of note, of the cities that do provide facilities, because the city of Savage does not, and Jordan no longer does, Prior Lake is the only city that leases space for a dollar amount. They lease out of their fire station number 2 for a little under $1,800 a month.
Significant more than us.
Not significantly. We're at about $1,480 or something like that. So it's about $300 more a month for the Prior Lake space. Shakopee does not. They kind of had an exchange going where they allowed free use of space, but also helped train their firefighters and whatnot on medical techniques. It does look like that agreement has kind of gone away as well. Only in that there is no more space in the facility for them to park a vehicle. I was told they are still allowed to use parking lot space and the rest of the facilities, but they cannot keep a vehicle inside anymore just due to lack of space. And the other, I guess, smaller cities across Scott County provide ambulance space free of charge to whatever ambulances happen to be in their area. LeSueur was kind of on the other side, as there are still are a few LeSueur County cities who operate their own ambulance services, and so obviously they have their own space. And then both LeSueur and Lonsdale, even though I guess they're just outside, but they're close enough that they get compared, and a lot of the stuff that we end up reaching for comparisons on do provide free space. I guess of note, one of the things that North Memorial does provide to us is exceptional call times. And maybe Tim can speak to that even a little bit further as he works with them a little bit more. I know talking to Chief Rinda, he would mention occasionally just how almost the horror stories that come out of other communities for the wait times that they sometimes have when they call for an ambulance and you're sitting there waiting for 25, 30 minutes sometimes. Where here they respond very, very quickly. I know I did reach out to North Memorial to see if the representatives there would be open to, while they did ask for free use of the space, if they'd be open to paying a portion of the facilities. And we did not discuss an exact amount. And as I mentioned in the memo, because of the building, right now I think that would be tougher to gauge. But the expiring contract does have North Memorial paying up to $5,000 a year to the city in contribution. And that did seem to me like a fair place to start, since we would be reducing the size of their space that they would be using, both in size of bays as well as size of interior space, including having them a now shared meeting room that would have normally in the old space been just theirs. And so I guess the other change that I put just in the drafts that I sent you is that council seemed more agreeable, or more comfortable, I should say, with the 5-year term. And so I did just switch out the 10-year for a 5-year term in there. But obviously all of those are certainly open for discussion. So just, I guess, looking for feedback at this point as to where you all would like me to go with this. Oh, one other thing. I think it was Sean that brought it up. The potential taxing district similar to the rural fire district. So I did talk to Scott about that. There are ambulance taxing districts. I'm not sure what the exact language is that's written for in state code. He did say he had heard of them. He said none of the cities he works with currently have one, so he's never really set one up, but he did have someone in his office kind of starting to do research on that. Because he even recommended, even if we, for whatever reason, don't decide to use it now, it may be something good to set up, so that way in the future, if we do want to use it or need to use it, it will be set up and ready to go and not something we're having to wade through at that point. But that is not something, further details on that I don't have for you tonight, as they are still doing research on that exact process of setting that up and what it would entail. But as far as I know, it would be very similar to a rural fire district where basically property owners, I believe, pay in just whatever amount, whether $6 a year or whatever it would be, to help fund, whether it's the ambulance service. And as my understanding of it, it would be as if it came back to it, it would help fund the facility or help make payments to the ambulance service, whatever would possibly be needed from that particular fund. But as I said, I don't have many more details on exactly the formation of that district tonight.
Well, I'm glad that, well, I would be okay with the 5-year, and I would rather charge them the full rate that we were charging before for space. I don't wanna tick them off either, however,
Well, I would be in favor of not charging them to lease the space, but to contribute to utilities.
I will say, Rick, there's nothing that forces them to have to lease from us per se. Like, it is entirely possible they could run the service without leasing space. I know, you hear of, I think more urban services do that, where they just kind of park ambulances and then never really make it back to the bays until the shift's over type of situation.
I had,
and I'm
I
not
had a
saying North would do
situation where
that.
I had to talk to the paramedic. They were down over there, and I had to convince that paramedic to get that ambulance over to where, I was with a down person. I'm not good with that. If it wasn't for his guy showing up, but you know, well. So their attitude has changed a little bit. They're down there doing something. I'm not okay with an ambulance service parked in a parking lot. That just seems pretty generic. I mean, it's not a taxi service. It's not even a squad car. I mean, it's an ambulance, and, I prefer they be there, and when they get called, get here. You know, I don't wanna answer questions on the phone. I'm sorry. And that's what they would do. They would sit over there. Are you sure you need an ambulance?
So I believe they would take the same call from dispatch. They would just,
Right.
instead of being parked there, instead of parked in a garage, they're not parked in a garage.
Dispatch is who hooked me up with them.
Scott County, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and to your point, Josh, like you had mentioned earlier, we are very fortunate to have the response times that we do have. Both Steve and I have talked about it, and even Mayor at our last meeting with North, we looked at the times, and you don't appreciate it until you need it, or your family needs it, or it becomes real in your life. I think a lot of that can sometimes get overlooked, and you're standing there over someone that you love and wondering where the ambulance is, and you hear on the radio that's gonna be 25 minutes or 30 minutes for an ambulance, and for me, that would be really hard to hear and listen to, and I think that the service that, and the response times that we do have is a testament to the service that we wanna provide to our residents, and I think that's an important thing that we need to continue to do and have that service here. I think that makes the community feel safe. They know that there's help when they need it. And in talking with Steve, we feel that that's very important because to the same point, if we have a medical where we're gonna be there for 35 minutes, our officer's gonna be tied up for 35 minutes. We can't leave until that ambulance, we can't just leave a patient there and say, well, the ambulance is on the way. See you later. We can certainly call the fire department out, and they can assist us, but you know, I have a hard time with the really long time, the long response times when we have an opportunity to have better times.
Just, I guess the point, we're not talking tonight about not using North Memorial.
No, correct.
We're not talking about anything that would influence response times.
Right.
If they decide to park their thing on the other side of town, they can do that now. They can affect response times on their own without us influencing it, whether we rent to them or not. So I don't.
No, I mean,
If we're talking about changing service providers, then I think that's a thing we have to consider, but I think we're really talking about rental rates.
No, and I think I was saying that more of, obviously, we have our service area,
Right.
and they could park anywhere within the service area.
Right.
Yeah, and so, yeah.
And they do now.
And I'm assuming it would probably be within city limits, that just makes more sense, but, yeah, they would have flexibility to move that around and maybe it would, and it was much more of a comment of where they could be parking. Not parking in the garage.
You know, I say that, did they say to you, if you don't provide a place for us to stay rent-free, we're going to provide less service? Did they say?
No.
Did they say they're not gonna get out in the same time, or?
No, I mean,
Okay,
it was more just discussed of talking about the possibilities, since we
Yeah,
tend
they're
to
not.
talk about a lot of possibilities when we discuss stuff,
Right.
so.
They weren't gonna ask for some fee from the city to have their service. as of now. But and we kind of talked about it, that they thought, well, maybe instead of going down that road, you don't charge them rent. That really was the discussion at hand, because obviously they're doing it at a loss.
When they're doing it, obviously in Faribault, and they're paying rent, and
Well, no, yeah,
paying costs for a building in Waseca.
right,
So they have real estate costs now.
right.
And we can never get them numbers, you know, and it's a nonprofit, we should be able to get their numbers and see them. And they don't allow that, so I don't know, you know, what did Mayo said they would rent the space as well.
You can get their numbers, Rick, it's just, it's a very complicated North Memorial record. I mean, you'd have to go through a lot of information. I just wanted to clarify, because what I thought, I
What
heard
numbers
you.
you talking about, Rick? Because I got their financials from last year that they present to us, and we had it at the last meeting. So what numbers are you looking
I don't know,
for?
let me see them.
Well, this is their financial for last year
This
and
is
their
their
budget.
Compiled information that.
Right, and then also in that packet that I think, Josh, you provided us last time.
What I was
Yeah.
looking for last time, and they wouldn't provide it, but what I was looking for is what kind of profit they turn over here. But everything went into the general fund so that we couldn't see it. See, cause what they're saying is these satellite cities and all this, they're not making money off of, enough money. Well, I would beg to differ with that. I seen some of them bills done to the, insurance companies, and I cannot say,
But
well, it's just.
Medicare is only gonna pay so much.
Right, but it's still pretty hefty.
Yeah,
I guess my experience when we were in Dodge Center and we ran our ambulance, Medicare was paying at most 66% of the actual cost of sending out the ambulance. And so you were trying to make up your money then with insurance companies on the private side. And so the more, at least in Dodge Center's perspective when I was there, the more Medicare, Medicaid runs you had, the harder it was to make the money work at that level. But anyway.
The question I had, when you talk about parking a rig on a parking lot or providing that or whatever, what I heard you say, it made it sound like they don't need the office sleeping area then.
So the way I understood it, speaking with the Shakopee City Administrator, is that they use the office and sleeping day area type of thing, but there's not space in the parking, the larger garage for any of their rigs in Shakopee, because the fire department takes all that space.
Right, I was referring to New Prague.
Oh.
And North Memorial. Do they need in the future?
By
the way you described how they're working, they might not be needing it.
I believe they're only using 2 rigs at this point. They're parking 2 rigs there.
right.
Are they using the office then and the sleeping area?
They are using the office and the sleeping area.
Okay, so that 2,000 square feet area they're using. Okay. And then what happens if they decide not to use it? So if their business model changes and they decide they're just gonna park one over here and park one over there and not use the space as much? Is there a way we can use part of it?
I mean, I suppose if they're not using it, I'm sure something will get parked in that garage. It's 2 climate-controlled garage spaces that I'm sure we'd be able to find a use for.
I mean, would the lease allow us to say, okay, that part of the property is no longer leased to you, we can use it? And the only reason I'm bringing this up is that the world changes quite a bit in a year and certainly in 3 years and 5 years. And I don't know what ambulance service is gonna look like, but I know there's a lot of financial problems with it. And the model, I mean, the state of Minnesota is subsidizing a lot of it now, but, so I don't know what the future is gonna be, but if they decide that they want the service, but they're gonna do it differently.
So at the moment, section 17 of the lease agreement states that the lease may be terminated by either party either 270 days in advance of a renewal, or at an earlier time if both parties agree to or the tenant doesn't use the space. And so.
Or if it doesn't use the space?
Or doesn't provide ambulance service. And so,
Right.
and so there's kind of 3 ways that it could be done, either 270 days in advance,
So 4 years from now,
4 years from now. Or if both parties agree to change or terminate the agreement, or if the tenant no longer provides ambulance services.
so my hypothetical, if they decide no longer to use it, we couldn't use it.
Yeah, it would be, we'd talk to them and say, do you guys, want to
Would you
continue?
open up the
yeah, well,
agreement?
Yeah, you want to continue paying utilities on the space that you're not using anymore, or do you want to open it up? We could put something into that termination clause, I guess that would allow us.
Well, actually, an easier thing to do is put in an amendment clause that either party, you know, we can meet at the table and amend the contract. So it's not just in section 17, or whatever what section did you?
17 of the building lease. So there's two agreements there. There's the
Yep,
service and
yep.
there's building lease.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, just put in an amendment clause, because that way it just opens it up to amend any portion of the contract. The parties can come to the table and talk, and it's not just in the
Rental.
Oh.
termination clause.
So would that include the,
Well, I would just like something with the ability that the city of New Prague, if the to be able to use the property. If you have to do an agreement, actually come to an agreement, why would they agree to it? But I guess you'd have to think maybe they would.
Well, just by adding an amendment clause, you can address any issues within the contract, so,
and would they be able to do that too then?
of course.
With an amendment clause in there, with that we put in there?
Yeah, either party, you know, can agree to amend. I mean, the parties have to come together and agree to amend the contract, so it's not just a unilateral decision.
Would that be similar to what's already in there in section 13 that just
Let's
says?
take a look.
Any additional amendments between the landlord and tenant must be in writing and signed by both parties to be effective?
Yes, thank you, Josh. Yep, I didn't see that. Yeah, so I mean, that covers a multitude of things, whether it be that we get to use the space or the utilities amount of $5,000 a year changes or whatever the case may be.
Then my only other comments, I guess, is I'm in favor of looking into the taxing district, not because I want to raise taxes, but I think it's more fair that all the people that benefit from it would pay for the cost of providing the service if we're going to be subsidizing it. So I would be in favor of looking into it. If everyone pays $1 a year or $2 or something, that would more than enough, well, a couple dollars anyway, to pay what the previous rent that we were getting on it. And then I guess I'd be more in favor of waiving 36 months of rent or doing a 3-year instead of a 5-year, just because the world can change so quickly. North Memorial and a lot of other service providers were awarded grants because of the financial condition of ambulance services in the state of Minnesota, and I think they're getting over $100,000 for Faribault and over $100,000 for Waseca, and I think you told me that we didn't qualify because more than half of the district is in
Scott County.
Scott
Yeah.
County. And that might change, and maybe they can qualify for a grant a year from now or 2 years from now, or something might change that their circumstances are different for our market, but.
So what about this? Would you be interested in doing a 5-year service contract? I think that was the most important thing to them, was
Right,
getting at
'cause
least a
that's how they do their
5-year
capital.
use or service agreement. And then, but doing a 3-year lease agreement, knowing that we'll be back to talk lease agreement where we could either extend it for the next 2 years of the contract or whatever here in 3 years.
I'd be good with that.
I'd be more in favor of that just because that it can change so quickly.
Is that 3-year okay with everybody else?
Yes.
That works, yep.
Okay.
Make those changes, and then we can approve it at the next meeting.
So I will make these changes and I will get them over to North Memorial just to kind of get their blessings on them, and yeah, hopefully we can get it approved at the next meeting then.
And I still would look at the taxing district
Yeah, I think
Because
that's just,
eventually,
I think that's gonna
eventually
be
if
an
things
ongoing
don't
project.
change and they get less money from the state and all this other stuff, they're gonna be, any service is gonna be looking for some kind of a subsidy from the city. Yeah. And I think we gotta be ready to react to, similar to the rural association, like you said, Sean, you know.
I think we get better being in great fear that the state is gonna be raising taxes, and, I don't think we should be.
Well, I think best case scenario is we'd have the district but never have to use it.
This is true.
Right.
You mentioned 5,000 and you used the words "to start." What did you mean when you said that? It's not in your computer. You said those words. Did you mean that that's the lowest amount and you're gonna try to get more?
Oh, I think I did say that in my memo, as I'm trying to think back. Ooh, you're really wordsmithing me tonight.
Well, I thought.
I think the part of it is, as we start the discussions on what to potentially charge for utilities, it felt like a fair place to begin those discussions. Not that we might try to get more out of them, but as we talk tonight, because I just foresaw the question of, well, how much do we charge for utilities? And so, because we have it currently in our contract for 5,000, it just felt like a good place to start the discussion for us.
Meaning that you might try to get 7,000.
If that's what it
I
costs.
don't know, yeah, we get more, great, but yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Because right now, we don't know what square foot utilities is gonna be in a new facility.
For all we know, it's designed to be an airtight facility and doesn't leak $1, and yeah.
well, I don't wanna keep badgering this, but are you saying you're putting a fixed price number, or are you actually trying to get the actual cost to the utilities?
At this point, I would be looking at putting in the contract an up to amount, similar to what's written in there now.
Okay.
Up to $5,000 per year. And so if it does come out that their utility costs are lower, then that number might be lower. If the utility costs are higher, that's just where it's capped.
Not to exceed 5,000.
Not to exceed.
If that's what it was before,
Correct.
and inflation has brought costs up,
But they
why
got less
wouldn't we-
square footage.
but their square footage is less?
Well, yeah,
The
they
square
had,
footage now is less than it was in the old facility.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because they got only 2 bays instead of 3.
And then smaller office place, plus some of their
Yes.
space is shared now.
Right.
If
Thank you
fuel
very
keeps
much.
going up, they're not gonna sit in
Does
the
that make
parking lot
sense?
keeping all that
Yeah,
equipment warm.
that does make sense. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, they're gonna have less square footage than they have now. All right, make those changes. Thank you. Miscellaneous. Rick, you got anything?
Yeah, but I'll wait till I'm more prepared with it.
Okay.
No, I don't have nothing.
Bruce?
Nothing.
Sean?
I just had, one thing, Maggie brought up a couple months ago about an e-bike, maybe looking at, there were some concerns out there that she had heard from, and I'd heard a couple over in the last 2 weeks too, now that the weather's getting nice and they're out riding around.
They actually opened that bill up today at the state. They're gonna reclassify electric bicycles and bicycles as 2 different things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was just curious if there was any new movement on it other than, hadn't heard the state stuff yet, but, did you guys ever look or ask into any other cities that might have ordinances on it, or maybe there's nothing we can do right now?
Yeah, Ken can probably speak better than I, but we have been talking about it, and we're not alone. Like, there's cities that are in the same boat, like, on our forums or within the groups of chiefs of police, what do you guys have? What are you doing? How do you do? Like, it's all over the place. So I think now the new legislation, just like much of the cannabis stuff, we want to wait and see what the legislation says, so we don't create an ordinance and then have to go back and change what the legislation said. So yes, 100%, we are trying to monitor and keep up with it, but the technology with these things is just, it changes so much that trying to classify and define these when you buy one at Target or Walmart and one on Amazon and one comes from overseas, and, trying to classify these things is very difficult because you're looking at it, there's no stickers on it, and you have to try and find the motor, electric, the engine, all of these things. So to answer your question, we have no answers for you, but we're continuing to monitor it, if that makes sense, and try
But
and.
there's basic stuff, like if they're under 16, they have to wear a helmet or.
Yeah,
stuff
there is
like
that. We put that out last year on our
Right.
Facebook page and the rules of what is law and sidewalks and things like that. So, and we'll certainly do that again here now that the weather's getting nicer too, so. But there are those general provisions, but as far as getting into all the motors and the, you know, the watts and all of these things that are controlled by these, I think we're looking for some direction from the state on what that looks like, so we can then implement that into some ordinance.
And that's where the debate was, because you can take one e-bike and another e-bike, and one goes 40 miles an hour and the other one goes 100. You know what I mean? And there's, so that, you gotta regulate, you can't just say, okay, this is a lane for the e-bikes. Well, it's almost a motorcycle, you know what I
I
mean?
think
No.
speed is another one, whether they're
Yep.
certain wattage, like, yeah, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
put it in a category.
Well, this one was mainly just that kids that are 10, 12 years old are operating a motorized vehicle, where any other motorized vehicle, they have to have a license, they have to have training, they have to have, wear seat belts and put the cell phones away, and, you know, there's rules behind it, but I'll just,
Without a doubt, they have the skateboard now with a wheel in the middle.
yeah.
They go faster than my wheelchair. And I seen a kid out there by the Wells Fargo, and, he was a young kid, didn't, really good on that thing, but he was moving.
I think that's a fair point. The one wheels, the scooters, and the e-bikes are all
Different.
kind of part of that too, yeah.
And the law is pretty clear on e-bikes. There's 3 classes, and they're pretty well defined, but what you're mentioning is, I think if we could get a better grasp on, because those are the ones that are coming down the sidewalks. I think the e-bikes, I haven't seen as much recklessness with e-bikes. And then, as you mentioned, it's the ones that come from out of the United States or out of state that are coming from wherever, and they're not falling into the e-bike classification. They're motorized bicycles, and that's the ones that are the Hastings situation where that lady got hit, and that was actually that type of a bicycle, or if you call it a bicycle. But
Yeah, and some cities are looking at just a complete ban, like they don't allow them at all. You can't, we're just not doing it for that reason, because of that, trying to create that separation of what you can and can't have, and then trying to enforce it is, we're just not gonna have them. So I don't know if that's the right answer either, but.
Yeah, I don't even.
Well, thank you.
Well, we definitely would have a full room if that was.
Yeah.
Anything
That was
else,
it.
Sean?
No, that was it.
Maggie?
I don't have anything.
not agree.
Josh, you have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to give one update to you guys, 'cause I know it's come up occasionally just as a question. So just wanted to update you on where the police station stands in terms of remaining contingency here as we kind of hopefully come into the last couple months. We did start with a budgeted contingency of $966,000, and some of that was to be covered by in-house dollars, so we didn't bond for it. We do currently still have about $730,000 in contingency remaining available. Crossing our fingers, we get to the end of the project and not spend that. Some of that money that was originally, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Earmarked out of the budget, out of the general fund for that. We'll stay in the general fund where it's at, and then the remaining of that money can go into the debt service fund to help offset tax levy and help pay down the bond then going forward, so.
So Josh, do we have change orders to reflect the difference between the two numbers you talked about, the $230-some thousand?
Yes.
And were they approved by?
Yes, so yeah, I see those change orders, and then when we get a group of them, I think they've come forward 3 times now to you guys to kind of.
To us, I haven't seen them.
Instead of coming in bulk.
I don't remember seeing any.
I don't remember seeing any. Are you talking about on the consent agenda? Do you throw them in there?
No, I will go back and I can pull some for you. I know.
The original one with the oil drum or
They're redigging the.
Yeah.
The soil's contaminated?
I'll go back and look at that, because yeah, I mean, that was, but yes, I have seen all those change orders they come across. Usually it turns out to be that, I think one of them was, there was a pipe going across the property, and we had to basically reroute that pipe, because there was a water pipe going over the facility, but then we also were able to take a 7-inch pipe and go down to a 5-inch pipe for something, and so that saved us a certain amount of money, and it's a lot of smaller, just little stuff like that as we've gone through and actually built the project out as to what those look like.
So that 900,000 was part of that overall bid?
Correct.
The 10.2, so that.
Correct.
Or whatever it was, yeah, okay.
Anything else?
That was all I got.
Ken?
Nope.
Tim?
All good?
Mitch? Brian? Patrick? I don't have anything, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second by Rick.
All in
All in
favor?
favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? We're out of here. Thank you, everyone. You know, that dog thing, I just couldn't grasp why it was even coming to the council.
Yeah, I don't know. That didn't,
I mean, to me, that should
I
be.
get it a little, I get the reason that they should be a way to